Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we'll talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Supernatural. So obviously, this was a two-part, back-to-back, season finale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the first episode, and then I'm going to move on to the second episode, kind of break it down like that. Obviously, the first... because it's like, interestingly enough, they're connected, but at the same time, very disconnected, kind of their own separate stories, but at the same time, connected. Nevertheless, the point I'm trying, you kind of possibly understand what I'm saying, though, on my rant, like, I apologize. Great way to start this podcast off, huh? Anyway, obviously, the first episode deals with, like, hey, the Men of Letters, well, more so than anything, it's like being trapped in a bunker and getting out. I knew that magic spell wasn't going to work because they went through the trouble being like, day one, it's like, so you're in there multiple days. There's no way it's going to work out for you. I did like that, though. Like, basically, the spell they need is like, we need virgin blood. And then Dean kind of looks at a Lady Bevel, and she's like, not by a long shot. It's like, oh, wait, there's a magic spell we can do to kind of trick it. It's going to mean, like, kind of re-virginize our blood. It's like, kind of, sort of. Sadly, doesn't work out. Sam and Dean try to get their way through a wall, but that doesn't work because it's too thick. To the point, like, Sam and Dean are just kind of like almost giving up hope. I mean, it's like, did you really think this is how we're gonna go? I was like, no, I thought we would go out Butch and Sundance style, go out in a blaze of glory type of thing. Which then gets Dean thinking. He finally gets to use it. It's like every time an opportunity came up, Sam was stopping. He's like, what are you doing? No, Dean, what? Now he finally gets to use the grenade launcher, and it helps. Obviously, they get out. They end up finding out, Mary went to attack Jody, which we don't know actually how many hunters she's killed because they were in there for like 2 days. To our knowledge, at the very least, she's killed 3. There's a dude that she killed at the beginning of the episode. There were 2 people above Jody on the list, so it's like... luckily, never didn't happen to Garth because, Dean talked to him, and as well as, like, Claire is good, too. That would have been a perfect time, but Claire's probably, not probably, definitely off doing her own thing. So it's like, Alex helped out Jody with the whole Mary situation and kind of subdued her. So Sam is leading all the hunters kind of on a battle against the Men of Letters, which is kind of interesting because like Sam had this whole conversation early on with Dean where he was like, the fact of the matter is he was okay with following because he got swept in all their words of like, yeah, this is what every hunter dreams in a world without monsters and stuff like that, where, at least they could like save more people's lives. That's all Sam cared about, the reason why he decided to work with them. Because I was about to say, it was Mick who passed that along, but even then, like Mick believed a lot of the stuff the British Men of Letters stood for, but then again, but it wasn't until after spending time with Sam and Dean that he really changed his mind and everything. So for Sam, it was easier to follow than lead. What that means is like they've always kind of had to take charge and kind of make the decisions themselves. With following, he didn't ever have to make the choice. Like it's like because being a hunter, you're kind of on your own doing things, and it's like up to you to decide whether someone or something lives or dies. Like everything's up to you to handle. It's like, but if you're following orders and everything, that weight's kind of off your shoulders. You're not the one that has to decide. Like the assignments get passed out and stuff like that. There's a system to it and everything. And Sam kind of liked that, but he realized, it's like, it was too good to be true. Like, he blames himself because he's like, all these other hunters that join up with them later on to fight them, it's like, you guys turned them away, obviously. I didn't, and I fell for it, and he kind of blames himself for everything that's happening. Because he's like, the fact of the matter is, we as hunters, like, the British Men of Letters want to act like they're trying to just kill monsters and they make the world a better place. But the fact of the matter is all they want is control. And that's true, because it's like, to go to the extent that they're doing now. Once again, I said it last episode and I'll say it again. What makes you any better than the monsters you hunt if you're willing to go to this extent? It is all about control to you. You think oh, there's this dignified way. It's like, if you got a problem with the hunters and stuff like that, it's like, no one asked you to come here to the U.S. to operate things. It's like, you like things operated a certain way, well, stay stay in the UK or whatever, but it's like things have worked like this for a very long time in the States, so it's like, why mess with it? It's like, it's just like, oh, they're very uncivilized or just barbaric in a way. It's like, well, that's their way. It's worked for a very long time. It's just like your ways work for you. Can't agree with it, but apparently it's a system that a lot of people agree with because it exists and everything, but still, it's like, who are you to try and change someone else's beliefs? I know, which is kind of a very double-edged sword type of situation, but at the same time, it's like there's certain situations. But even with their way of thinking, it's kind of like you can handle things the way you do, but don't be so vicious and like so bloody about it. Like the fact of the matter is like, oh, this and that. It's like, well, because even later on, Dr. Hess is like, okay, I don't want any witnesses. So if you need to basically kill family members of these hunters, anyone that might stand in the way, it doesn't matter. She not right said, but who's to say she wouldn't have meant like killing children too? Like there are hunters that have families too, so that suck. But for hunters, like the fact of the matter is, hunters, and it's like it's so interesting because they're supposed to be so proper and better than everyone else. But it's like when you look at it, it's like hunters, even though they're once again kind of barbaric and stuff like that, they have more honor and more of a moral sense of what's right and wrong compared to the Brits. So, I mean, as we've seen, they've had no problem with killing their own. Let's not forget Mick. But Sam and the others lead the charge. That's where they end up finding out about Lucifer and Crowley. But Dr. Hiss is like, oh, the fact of the matter is, don't worry about it. Like, the fact is that, is like, tells him about Lucifer and everything. It's like, oh yeah, like, we should join together. It's like, really? At that moment, I was like, are you stupid? Like, for one, Sam was like, no, I'm not going to fall. Like, I kind of warranted this problem right now. I'm not going to go down that road again, which to me, I immediately go, I don't even know why he even contemplated it. It's like, she literally went out of her way to kill you. It's like, who's to say she won't just do it again anyway? It's like, oh, we should join forces. Well, if you really felt like that, maybe you shouldn't have tried to kill us. And let's not forget all the hunters, like Eileen, who her and Ketch successfully killed. So it's like, screw you. It's like that was so idiotic. And she wanted an escape route and everything. She was like, oh, open a bloody portal or whatever the case may be. Just get us out of here. And it's like, you're such a jerk. It's like, I mean, I guess you could almost call it poetic justice because she ended up catching a bullet to the head, which is like, I guess, it's someone you can think of as like Mick from Beyond the Grave or something. I don't know. I mean, because he kind of got a headshot. Granted, it was the back of the head, but still. And then at the same time, while that was all happening, Lady Bevel was helping Dean with getting inside of Mary's head, which, really quickly, I feel so bad for Lady Bevel because, for one, I just like Elizabeth Blackmore just because, like, just the times I've seen her pop up, it's like she's not always the easiest, like she doesn't always play the easiest characters to like, but it's like, even at the end, you kind of felt a little sympathetic for her and everything. I mean, granted, she did lie about the whole fixing Mary type of situation, was the whole purpose of like, yeah, I lied about that because I knew if I didn't tell you, you'd kill me. But at the same time, it was like, I just felt so bad, especially dying like that. I figured something like that was going to happen because Dean handcuffed her. I was like, yeah, that's going to come to screw her over. And it's like, because of that, she couldn't defend herself against Ketch, and he just slit her throat. And she even brought up the fact is that she was like, I only want to get back to my son. She's like, the fact of the matter is, I don't expect a pass. She's like, I just want a head start. And it's like, she doesn't even get that. It's like that. Just the way the British men of letters handle things. But really quickly, focusing on like Sam and, Dean and... That's another thing too. Like I almost forgot about that. When Dr. Hess met Sam, she's like, "Come on, Dean," and he's like, "Sam." It's like you didn't even bother to take the time to really get to know who they were. So kind of screw you in that part too. But nevertheless, I guess on some way, I mean that's probably not the point of it, but like it's something I learned years ago that I always thought was kind of interesting. At least I could be remembering this because I read it years ago, but I think they actually. Jarrett Padalecki and Jensen Ackles actually tried out for each other's parts. Like, Jensen as Sam and Jarrett as Dean. Like, I think that's actually what happened. I could be wrong. I swear I remember reading that years ago. So maybe that was kind of to make it most likely just her not paying attention. But also at the same time, I'm thinking like kind of maybe a wink and nudge to that. Most likely just me overreaching and just overthinking it. It'd be kind of cool if that was their point. But it's probably just like, no, just to show the fact is that how little the hunters meant to her, how little their lives meant, that she can't even bother to learn Sam and Dean's names. I mean, at least recognize who's who at the very least. I mean, at the very least, at least she wasn't, I'm struggling on an S name. Sean, God. You would think that would have came easy to me. Nevertheless, I'm an idiot. Oh, God, that's terrible. That's definitely saying it. Nevertheless, but inside of Mary's mind, she had this picture perfect moment. It's like, oh yeah, I'm here with baby Sam and younger Dean and everything. It's basically the point in life where before everything kind of fell apart and everything. It's just like all that peaceful life. And Dean's almost like, well, you'd rather be here than reality. I get it. Like stuff on the outside is not that good, but you got to leave. But then he's like, you know what? I hate you. Because for one, it's like you want to stay in this picture perfect moment because for her, this picture perfect moment is the world that she knew before coming back. Coming back. I am just on the road tonight. It's the world that she was familiar with, and it's just like it was a lot easier to dive into that world because it's like this is the world where I don't have to worry about my boys growing up in a damaged environment, especially learning from Lady Bevel last episode, like kind of what happened to John, that he changed and everything. And Dean even brings up, he's like, I hate you, Mom, because you left us. Because the fact of the matter is, kind of everything came from her. Because it's like her deal with Azazel to save John basically led to everything happening. He even kind of throws in her face, it's like, yeah, at one point Sam even lost his soul. Like, everything that's happened, becoming Lucifer's vessel, all that was all of that happened because of that one deal. And so that basically everything kind of fell on her shoulders. And I guess in a way, Dean was kind of saying, like, you want to be here in this perfect life, and you want to stay in this perfect moment, but let's not forget all the damage and calamity you've caused with that one decision. And he's like, because of that, I hate you. But at the same time, I love you because you're my mom, and I can't help it. It's just like, the fact of the matter is, it won't be easy, but we can go back. We can make things right. It won't, and, it kind of, he finally is able to kind of reach out to her, because it's like, he later on explains it to her that he does forgive her. It's like, because that's just, everything he was harboring in his heart. Things, I guess, maybe he was just too afraid to actually tell her, because, maybe he was afraid he'd scare her away. But Ketch shows up and everything, and even with a wounded leg, Dean kind of kicks his ass for a little while. Then he pulls out a gun and everything. But Mary, snapping out of, her mind control and everything, shot him. And he's like, Mary, I always knew you were a killer, both of you. And Dean's like, yeah, you're right. Pow! Killed him. It's like, good. After everything you've done, Eileen, the girl with psychic abilities, it's like, you deserve this, dude. It's like, you needed to be put down, because for him, there was I don't think you can get redemption in that type of situation after everything he's done and just how gleefully he did a lot of things. But then the conversation came up, and, Sam's like, of course, Mom, I forgive you. And the fact of the matter is, we are a family, and they have that little huggy moment and everything, which is it's touching, with everything said and done, because Mary explains, the reason why she was working with them, it's she wanted to make things right, and it's by working with the Men of Letters, she can make this world a better place, at least put something good back out there. If she's able to get rid of all these, monsters in the States, then at the very least, that means that Sam and Dean will not have to do the hunting thing. They can be normal people again, and that in her mind, it's at least that does something to make up for all the damage I've done, all the pain I've brought into your life. But Sam and Dean forgive her, because it's at the end of the day, because even that's what I was thinking of earlier. Dean brought it up too. Is he understands where she's coming from, why she made that deal. Because the fact of the matter, at the time when he was younger, maybe, but now after, throughout the course of the series, we've seen firsthand the fact of the matter is that he's done it countless times to protect people. Let's not forget what kind of deal he made to bring Sam back from the dead at the end of season 2, the whole Lilith situation, kind of getting dragged to hell in season 3. After being horribly torn apart by hellhounds. Also, side note, gotta really quickly bring this up. I love the fact that they run into these two guys. They're like, oh yeah, Sam, Dean, we haven't seen you since you killed us. It's like, yeah, it's kind of almost like water under a bridge. It's like, whew, I don't know if I'd really be okay with that. But it's there was a time where you're like, oh, we need everyone's help with this situation. Which, to me, the only time I can really think of that has to be when Sam and Dean were in their bed and hunters came and killed them. I think that was around season 5, wasn't it? Because that's after the whole Sam and Dean will be kind of in the middle of the apocalypse type of thing. I think they were the hunters that killed them. I think both of them died. Maybe just one of them. I don't know. I think both of them died. They're in that. No, I mean the guys that killed Sam and Dean. I think they both died. During the assault. It's they went into it knowing not all of them to survive. I knew at the very least, I was hoping at least, they didn't do it, but I was like, okay, thank goodness that Jody's okay. But that was just kind of interesting to me. To me, that's the point when they went to heaven. So I'm thinking that has to be that particular moment. That's the only one I can think of when they were outright both killed at the same time. More often than not, it's one of them's killed and the other one's left behind type of situation. But nevertheless, to me, it's okay, so the British Men of Letters situation is done with. It's no, there's still a whole hierarchy. The thing is, I don't know if they're going to, the British Men of Letters might look at this as oh, well, screw it. We're not going to try and get revenge. It's more trouble than it's worth. It's let them deal with their own situation. We'll stay over here dealing with ours. At least that's how I feel because I was thinking we're going to have some confrontation with the higher ups. I was even thinking on some levels, like when Sam's talking about hitting him hard, it's like you're not. I was like he meant the base here in the U.S., but it's like I was wondering, it's like, do you? I mean, granted, you wouldn't even know where to begin looking for them in Europe and stuff like that. So that's why I was like, never mind. So what? I mean, I doubt we've heard the last of them, but maybe we have. Maybe they'll just cut off all ties. They're like, yeah, it failed. We lost some people. We'll just leave it at that. Like they were kind of cutting themselves loose to the situation in the first place. That's why they were killing off all the hunters in the first place. But now they're like, okay, they're going to be a lot more trouble than it's worth because they're going to fight back and kill some of us. And it's like, why waste the manpower or something like that when we can be doing something better with it or something? Because these barbaric blah, 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 aren't worth the time. Uppity mentality. So that was the first part of the episode. Obviously, the second part of the episode is dealing with like, hey, Lucifer's free. Oh, we got to find Kelly and Kaz. At the same time, Crowley pops up again. It's like, which they were like, yep, of course Crowley's not dead. And it's like, of course I'm not. And the moment he pops up, Dean punches him in the face, and Dean's got the knife to him. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Sam's like, Dean, don't do it. And Mary and Dean are like, wait, really? It's like, well, yeah, we might need his help with the whole like stopping Lucifer situation. He's like, huh? And they're like, and if it doesn't work, well, if it doesn't work, then we kill him. But because sadly Rowena is dead. I was so bummed about that. They're like, oh, you're gonna call Rowena. Oh, and then it's like, you see the blood of her. I was like, no. And then you see her body. I'm like, no. That sucks. I mean, not only did she have an off-screen death, but then again, it's like, with what Lucifer does to her, it's like, maybe that was better, but it's like, I mean, granted, you don't know. Rowena's come back before, but I mean, from a snap neck, sure, but not from something like this. He could talk about the fact is that he kind of stomped her face in and then burnt her. So it's like, he went above and beyond, so there is no more Rowena, which is like sad. Because the last time we saw Rowena was kind of in a slightly depressing circumstance, at least between her and Crowley, because it was the whole his son situation, like sending his son back to the correct time period and everything. So obviously didn't leave off on the best of terms. And even this episode, Crowley was like, huh, really? Huh, I was so sure it was going to be me that killed her. So still no love there, which is like, feeling no remorse at all for his mom being dead, but still. But basically Sam and Dean are able to track down Kelly and Castiel. We also learned what it was that Castiel saw. He ended up seeing like a perfect world, a world with no pain, no suffering, and stuff like that. Like kind of like a paradise is essentially what he said. We got a little more elaboration into it because Kelly's kind of worried about it. She films a video. It's like, hey Jack, I'm your mom. Sets up a crib and everything. It's also interesting hearing Cass talk about, like, yeah, I looked up all this stuff about, how to take care of her baby and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, buying diapers and stuff like that. Just kind of going through a lot for this, kind of showing you how dedicated he is to this and reminding Kelly, like, hey, when you're going, I will take care of your baby and everything. So, but being as powerful as a baby is, the baby literally tears a hole in time-space and ends up basically, because at first I'm like, okay, what is this? Is this like what is, I figured it had to be kind of maybe some alternate reality where he ends up bumping into someone. He ends up bringing Sam and Dean there later. I was like, oh, who's it going to be? It's like, is it going to be like an alternate world Sam or Dean? And it's like, and it's like, lo and behold, who else would it be but Bobby? It's like, Bobby, you're alive. It's like, we're the Winchesters. Like, Winchesters, the only Winchester I know is John, and he died 40 years ago. It's like, oh, yeah, he was with this lady named Mary Campbell who used to go on and on about John Winchester. She died 10 years ago because Zazo finally caught up to her and everything. I'm like, huh. So basically, it's an alternate reality where Sam and Dean were never born. And so, in what retrospect do you wonder did the world fall apart? Because basically, that alternate reality is like heaven versus hell, which is like, if Sam and Dean were never born, then I guess Michael and Lucifer possibly found, they never really went into details, but I guess Michael and Lucifer found other bodies to inhabit. It's a full-blown war on Earth. That's why Earth is at least from that part of the Earth we've seen as kind of a wasteland. Humans are kind of trapped in the middle of this war. So, because maybe it's a combination of stuff, because Sam and Dean weren't there, like one calamity stacked upon itself and just like all this stuff happened. But then again, it's like at the same time, you're like, that happened, but it's like also because Sam and Dean weren't born, it's just one big calamity here, but it's like, it's hard to say because it's like, what I'm trying to say is like, there's this one calamity. Let's not forget all the big calamities that's happened. The angels falling to earth, Lucifer and Michael's battle possibly about to get started. Obviously that stopped. The Leviathans, Dean kind of becoming the demons, not as much, but Amaru coming. It's like, there's been some apocalypse level stuff on multiple occasions. So it's like, which one outweighs the other? Heaven versus hell versus all the other calamities. It's kind of, with sheer number, obviously Sam and Dean have got it up here, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. Like I don't know which one is better off. I mean, even Sam and Dean were like, yeah, our reality is not that good, but hey, it's definitely better than this one. At least their world isn't kind of a wasteland. Like I said, that's just from what we've seen in that one area. Also, I love the fact is that Bobby's like, yep, got angel killing bullets. Like, you kill angels? Like, oh yeah, it's kind of my favorite hobby. It's like, ooh, that sucks. Good thing he doesn't know that Cass is an angel. But he's like, yep, angel killing bullets because they're basically casted from angel blades. And then Dean's like, angel killing bullets? That's cool. And he turns and he sees Cass turning to look at him. It's like, I'm sorry. Which is, I mean, interesting because it's like, before there's only been, obviously, the cult, which is still broken. I just thought about that. Didn't even think about it once the entire episode. It's like, right, the cult's still broken. Would the cult have even worked on Lucifer now I'm thinking about it? I mean, it was not even an option. I mean, I'm sure that's going to be something that kind of comes up in the future. But, they did come up with a plan, though, like how to deal with this whole Lucifer situation. And Crowley came back, too, which I'll kind of get to that in a second. But I love Lucifer's line of, like obviously, Sam, Dean, and Cass are standing there in front of him. And then, you have Sam be like, Chuck will stop you. He's like, oh, Chuck will stop me. He's like, you know what you sound like, Sam? You sound like a virgin at a Jesus camp. Oh, we can't do it. God might be watching us. It's like, I love it. You're such a douche. Such an evil douchebag. That's kind of another thing too. Oh, I can't believe I forgot about this too. Really quickly, is Crowley's explanation as to why he did what he did. Obviously, it was like, for gloating and glory and stuff like that. But he kind of really broke it down as to why he kept Lucifer on the leash. I mean, he's kind of elaborated on the past, but he elaborated even more. It's like, hey, the fact of the matter is I have a nuclear weapon here, like an archangel. Like, who's going to really be able to step to me after this? Because there's been so many people that have come to try and take my throne from me. It's like, I'm tired of it. I can have Lucifer there to kind of keep them all in line, make it so that no one ever takes my throne from me. But then he kind of had an existential crisis moment where he's like, I don't get why. Because at the end of the day, I hate my job. Like, who wants all this, all the paperwork, all the people whining and complaining to you? Hell, Lucifer doesn't even want the job because he doesn't really, like, anytime he's had the throne, he's never really cared about. Which, once again, obviously most demons serve him out of, like, some fear. But it's like, it's like, why did you ever, like, want to serve him at any point in time? Because he does it time and time again. He shows that he cares nothing about demons. But, he's like, the fact of the matter is, like, oh, it's boring. I don't like it. I hate my job. It's like, who would want that? And they're like, you? He's like, well, maybe at one point in time I did, but it's like, now I don't care for it at all. So that was just kind of interesting because he fought so hard to keep that job for so long. And it's like, now he realizes it means next to nothing because for what? He doesn't even like the job anymore. Like, there's no, like, I was like, oh, all you get for being king of hell is the perk of being able to call yourself king of hell. That doesn't mean anything. What side note? We walked away from the season still not dealing with the third prince of hell. I guess that's not even, like I said, I can't remember the third's name. I think it was Asmodeus might have been it. I mean, we still don't know about its situation. Like I said, 3 of the 4 are dead. So I'm very curious, like, what will kind of come of that. But, will that even turn anything? Like I said, Asmodeus doesn't really care about anything. Once again, I'm using that name. Never know. I'll just refer to it. The final prince doesn't care about. None of the princes did. The only one that ever really cared was Dagon. But as we find out, like, Dagon did it because, like, Dagon wanted to rule by Lucifer's side. It was more of a romantic situation. Like, oh, big, happy family type of situation. I don't know whether it was more so that or just the fact is, like, oh, I'll be, like, queen bee of everything, like, hell and earth. Or is it, like, queen bee of hell and earth plus I get to be by Lucifer's side? I can't really tell if she really had intimate feelings for him or not, but nevertheless. But basically the plan is to trap Lucifer on the other side, leave him in that other world, which is kind of crappy because it's like you're leaving that other world to deal with him. But it's like, well, to be fair, that other world's kind of screwed anyway because they're stuck in the middle of a war between heaven and hell. Crowley ends up concocting a spell and he's like, okay, it needs a final ingredient. Final ingredient needs to be that of a life. And Crowley, surprisingly enough, sacrifices himself. Did not see that coming. Which is like, holy crap. Which obviously bums you up because it's like, Crowley has been a part of this show for so long. When did he first pop up? Maybe like season 5 or 6? Like, he's been in this show. He's been in this show for a very, very long time. And it's like, for him, I mean, for one, just to show that he would sacrifice himself. Obviously, it's obviously to take down Lucifer and kind of, as his words, in his own words, take that smug smile off his face. But at the same time, he even said, like, bye, boys. Like, even with everything said and done, he actually cared for Sam and Dean. Now, really quickly, there's one side of me that is, like I said, bummed out about it because, like, that means for one, won't be seeing no more Mark Shepard. I brought it up. I love Mark Shepard as, even though he's been such a piece of crap, he always has that moment where you're like, oh, I hate you, but I love you at the same time, Crowley, because you're so good. But it's like, now Crowley is gone. But then again, there's a whole situation where Dean stabbed his hand to the table with the knife. Now, who's to say that that's actually Crowley who sacrificed himself? Who's to say that wasn't someone else? That, like, basically Crowley left his body, got some other demon to inhabit his body, obviously pulled the knife out, and then sent that demon to go off sacrificing himself. Who's to say that wasn't the case? Because I'm sure there's plenty of demons that, I'm sure there are plenty of demons that are still scared of Lucifer that would be like, oh, Crowley, you're still alive. Oh, you need me to do, that's still a possibility, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, we'll have to see. Because either way, even if it was, if it's Crowley, Mark Shepard, won't be popping up again. And even if it wasn't Crowley, that still means Mark Shepard won't be popping up again. It's the same thing as, Katie Cassidy. Like, obviously, she was the original inhabitant of Ruby. That was Ruby's original human body, but that last time, like, that ended at the end of season 3 when Lilith ended up possessing her body and then leaving. But nevertheless, like, she ended up with a different body in season 4. So maybe that same circumstances. I don't know. Either way, like, it's. I want to believe it's not Crowley because I know it would take away from that sacrifice heavily, but there's also because it seems like that'd be more of a Crowley move, especially because he made that promise and everything. It's like, oh yeah, when he was all said and done, he'd close the gates of hell. He's like, obviously, I'll pop in from time to time, but everyone else, they'll be stuck in hell and stuff like that. So, at the same time, though, you want to give him a bit of doubt and think when it's all said and done, he wouldn't make the ultimate sacrifice if it meant stopping Lucifer. Which, like I said, it sucks. And then on top of that, immediately after, who else gets killed? Bam, Castiel, right there in front of your eyes. It's like, wait, what? What? So, I don't know. And then on top of that, you have Mary, like, willing to sacrifice herself for her boys. She ends up punching Lucifer in the face and pushing him, and she ends up getting pushed into it too, and the portal closes behind her, and it's like, wait, what's going on? Lucifer's upset, and Mary's right there in front of him. It's like, dude. Then at the same time, Sam runs in to check on the baby. Not a baby. Jack is a fully grown man. Wasn't expecting that. So all we see is him kind of in the corner. We don't even get to see who he really is, but he's up in the corner and his eyes are glowing yellow. And that's where the season ends. Dean over like Cass's dead body. So Cass isn't even there to kind of raise the baby, even though it's not even a baby. So it's like crazy ass season finale. Like so many things. For one, we've already set up the idea of an alternate reality. The moment that happened, I was like, okay, you're already setting this up so that stuff from that world starts bleeding over into this world. Do demons go to purgatory? I know, like, vampires and stuff like that, supernatural creatures go, but I don't think demons do. When demons are dead, they're dead. I don't think even they've gone into purgatory. Which purgatory hasn't come up. Like, the last time purgatory came up was... that was, like, some time ago. Like, it was, like... It wasn't real. It was like inside of Dean's head. I don't remember what this... It was him and Benny. It was all a thing all inside of his head. I don't remember what season that was or what the circumstances were. But the last time Purgatory was ever dealt with was season 8 when Dean and Benny got out. Which I don't think that Benny's situation's ever come back up again since, he protected his great-great-granddaughter or something like that from that hunter that he ended up killing, because that was like one of the last times Benny and Dean talked. I think so. I don't remember. Nevertheless, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that might have been season 10, because I think that happened during the whole like Mark of Cain situation. But nevertheless, I got the feeling like this might be them setting up like old things from that universe popping over this. Because I figured those things had to be demons, especially when Bobby shot them. Like, they died like when demons die. Like that yellow glow in their ectos, like their skeleton being shown and everything. But they had black eyes, yet they also had horns and stuff like that. I think Bobby referred to them as like tempered demons or something like that. So... no telling what even angels look like in this world. Like, I'm very curious. I would be interested. The fact is they went out of their way to establish that means we're not done with it. Obviously, with Mary and Lucifer. Like I said, not the best place because it's like Lucifer. who's to say there might not be some other top dog in that other world? There might be a Lucifer of that world who might try to take on the Lucifer we know. What does it mean for Mary? Because Mary's trying to sacrifice. Like I said it last episode. I had a feeling, and I think I might have mentioned this a little bit earlier too, like in the season, that I thought Mary would end up dying, just because it's like, to me, like they're setting it up, and having these happy moments of like, from here on we'll be the happy family. It's like, no, they're setting it up so they can kill you. I mean, granted, they did it for Cass and Mark Shepard, which on the same level of Cass, is like, Cass has been around, I definitely know, since season 4. So like him and Mark Shepard, like easily big time regulars of the show. So it's like, are they gone or what? I mean, granted, who knows what this Nephilim can do? It can bend and break reality, as we can see. So no telling what it can do. And what does this mean going forward? Does it mean Sam and Dean have to take care of him and raise him? I'm very curious to see who they get to play him too. So, I mean, I guess that's the purpose of hiding it in shadow. I mean, maybe like I'll recognize the actor, or maybe it'd be someone I don't recognize. Immediately, I was thinking like, it'd be kind of interesting if it took on the form of Adam, their half brother, who was Michael's vessel. Like I said, a very crazy season finale, and I mean, hopefully the show gets renewed for another season. I kind of assume so, just because it's like, I don't know, I feel like Supernatural's like very super popular, so I'm like, I kind of don't worry about it, but at the same time I kind of do. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm really, either way, I'm my fingers are crossed, hoping they see what happens. I mean, especially with something like this. Like, maybe this will be something to be like, yo, Chuck, maybe you should come back. Maybe you and Amara should come back, because this is like some like high level stuff that maybe only you can deal with. Obviously, got to, like I said, save Mary. I mean, especially considering like who Cass is supposed to be for the child. The child did show Cass the future, but does the Jack know that? Like, I'm very interested to see what that means going forward. Will it be a situation where Sam and Dean are just kind of like, okay, what do we do? They spend some time with Jack, and then Jack just pops off by himself. I don't know. They never really had time to really kind of make up with Cass either, and it's like, yo, like, either way, I'm very interested to see, like, hopefully if there's a 13th season, what's going to go down there. Like, obviously, like I said, we saw a little bit of what waits on the other side of that world, and we're not done with it yet. Now, whether it's Lucifer coming back from that world into this world with a whole army or something, or whether it's Sam and Dean trying to enter that, I mean, it makes you wonder, is that going to be the case? Is it going to be like them entering that world, probably trying to convince Jack to do it, but then Jack's like, why would I do anything for you guys? Like, I mean, the question is, which side will he fall on? Will he be a good guy? Will he be a bad guy? I mean, Sam and Dean would have to do some questionable things for the right reasons, like they've had to kill people and stuff like that. So it's like, are they the best role models? I mean, they're the ones that should be able to instill in the baby. Like, I mean, I keep saying baby because it's like everyone expected it to be a baby, not a full-grown person. So, but the thing is, will the Jack be? I was about to say child too. Will Jack be more inclined to evil or good? I mean, considering who his dad is, but then again, it's like, even then, his dad wasn't always evil. He just kind of, grew up with rebellious and daddy issues, and now he's just like, he hates humans and stuff like that, because like, these are dad's toys and I'm going to break them type of thing. So, I don't know. We will just have to wait and see. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.